a week before, the week before the class, this particular class, and we give them advanced information or instruction on how to prepare, to come prepared for this thing. So we send them, I send them the articles online. I just said, I post it online, they go up, and I ask them, read very carefully these two articles and come prepared to talk, or come prepared with two questions. That's what I asked them to do, is come with two, what I refer to as thought-provoking questions. No question should be answered yes or answered to yes or no to. Simple, direct questions. But I want them to think about their questions and submit that kind of questions to be discussed by a peer of their own. The panel that would be made out of their own peers. And so they know that that's what is going to happen. They come prepared with those two questions. I also give them some example of what they might look like. This is done a week before they get into the articles, okay? Then we have them read and study, and I also encourage them to not only, if there are other things that they read that they need to maybe cross-reference to other articles that they know, go for it. It's good to get some other information that might add into what the discussion is. So I encourage them to do that for that preparation for that class. When they come to class, we had already asked them to send us in advance, what are some principles that you have learned from this reading? I asked them to send me at least five principles, and then they talk about, they describe each of those principles. They send it to me. And so I take those out, and I took it to class with me, and I asked them some questions about those principles. And then we pre-assigned people in there. Okay, these few questions will go to the four of you. You will respond. Then I asked somebody else in the class to summarize what the responses are. And none of those answers are right or wrong. That's just, it's what we're asking for is your opinion or your feelings or your understanding of what this particular principle is. So just encourage them to speak out and to say what is coming to them as in the form of, and I encourage that sometimes most of what they would do if they reflect and ponder, it's the Spirit telling you what you need to say. Similar thing that happen when you sit in a class, in a religion classroom or in a Sunday school classroom or in any other meeting. We will be edified by the Spirit, and what comes to me is very totally different that comes to you, because it's a personal edification thing that comes. For that particular class, that was our final class, was that I give them a couple of articles from Darren Oaks and from Unipley on the subject of the gospel culture. And I also told them at that time that they will be the panel. They will be asked to participate in discussing the questions of their peers. And I said to them, please come prepared. You have read all the information, and all answers must somehow relate to what you're reading. It could not be an isolated answer. And I asked them to put everything they say in context. In reference to answering things, when they come prepared, always put it in some context. So is it with their question? I told them when they send me this question, I prepare them to get a preface, a little brief preface to your question, so we can put the question into context of where does this question come from? and then we can answer it within the context of that question. We assigned a group of 3 to come up as the panel on the table. We set it up so they can sit in a panel, and the question is posted to them. While they are answering or contributing to this, the rest of the class is also engaged in, okay, what would I say? What would my answer be? So the moderator will always get a chance to say, okay, are there anybody else who have any other thought regarding this question? Then he could give it to one there. So you can engage as many people as you want in those 2 processes of discussing a certain question. We had 6 questions. There were 6 groups who were each group, when they're done with one question, they were asked to, we thank them and we clap and celebrate, and we send up the next group. And then the moderator picks also. He has read the material itself, so he just branches out from these questions, asking other questions and maybe delving into the issue a little bit more. I think when I first started out with being converted to this model, the biggest threat for me as a teacher is that they would not need me anymore. They would not need me anymore. And which is, it's a job security for some people, But they still need us in a way to facilitate, to conduct, to direct the things. And so I'm less and less into providing information, and more into directing them to find that information for themselves. But learning doesn't occur when my thoughts is better than your thoughts. It's when they can discover for themselves the truth or the principle that we're asking. And usually it comes, like they said, the conversion doesn't happen in a classroom. It doesn't happen when I teach them. It happens basically when they ponder upon these things on their own, and it comes to them when they know, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, that's where it is. It's the direction that's coming to them from somewhere else, and not necessarily be in the classroom, and not necessarily be in my presence. It's not from me. It's a preparation that so.